Hello and welcome to Flagstaff TV. Today we are joined by Garry Dempster, who is the CFO of Sound Energy. Garry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Catherine. Nice to speak to you.
Thank you, Garry. Garry, you recently gave a very detailed strategic and operational update to the market. Busy times?
Yeah, very much so, Catherine. We're always busy in Sound, but particularly over the last 12 to 18 months, we've been very active. So we announced that phase one is now sanctioned. So phase one being the small scale micro LNG project. We sanctioned that development at the beginning of the year. We've got the funding in place, so we're moving that forward into the execution phase. So that's well underway. Italfleur is our main contractor. They've started putting into place all of their major purchase orders. They've got some more to come over the coming period, but they've put a number of those purchase orders in play already. And they've actually got people and tools on the ground in Morocco as well. So that's very pleasing to see. So they're executing the civil engineering scope for the facility that they will be installing on site. And we're actually working alongside them as well, because we've got civil engineering scope as well, which is related to building some roads to transport the LNG in the trucks that will be necessary as part of the project. So that's ongoing, and we're in the process of putting into place the other main contracts as well on the well services side and on the engineering side as well to fulfill the other aspects of the project scope. So a good start, and we're well on track to hopefully deliver gas by early 2024. And then we've been focusing on phase two as well. So phase two is the gas to power project that we've been working on for some time. We put in place, people may remember, the gas sales agreement with ONE, the state power producer, back in November of last year. So that set the platform for us to mature the financing of the development, and it's a material financing proposition that's in front of us. But what we needed to take the discussions forward from conceptual sounding type dialogue to more material commercial dialogue was a bankable contract, that being the 10-year take-or-pay contract that we now have in place with ONE. So with that in place, we've been able to go into the various parts of the capital markets to try to access capital solutions for the project. So we've got strong interest, and we've got term sheets from a variety of lenders on the senior debt side. We've got strong interest as well from a variety of different vendors who are interested in deploying vendor financing as well, particularly on the gas processing facility and the gas export pipeline. So we're maturing those options as well. And we've also been exploring some equity and some mezzanine debt facilities as well. So there's a variety of different options that we have available to us, but we're making very strong progress, and hopefully we'll be in the position to announce the appointment of a lead arranger on the debt side over the very near term. So things are moving apace there too. And then aside from the focus on phase one and phase two, we've been focusing on the exploration side as well behind the scenes. As people are aware, we've notably and strategically taken the decision to deprioritize exploration whilst we try to get the development projects on stream. That was the strategic reset that we took early in 2020, but we have been continuing to work the exploration potential in parallel, and that work has yielded some high grade opportunities that we're very interested in pursuing over the course of the coming period. And then aside from that, we've also acquired Schlumberger's position as well in Eastern Morocco. So they had a 27.5% interest in the Eastern Morocco licenses, both the exploration side and the production concession, and we acquired their interest last year in return for a modest NPI. So a very accretive acquisition, and one that allows us to move forward and add incremental value to the portfolio, and obviously to shareholders through time. So that was quite an achievement as well. And then I think the last thing I'd say is that aside from the kind of the day job, so to speak, we've been moonlighting to a degree as well. We've been looking to look at growth opportunities, to build out the portfolio, to de-risk the portfolio as well. So we've been screening a number of opportunities in the conventional upstream space, but also in the renewables space as well. So yeah, busy times.
You mentioned potential renewables projects. Can you tell us a little bit more about them?
Sure. I think that the first thing I'd say that thematically as an organisation, we stand firmly behind the energy transition. Society's clearly laid out its demands in that respect, and it's something that we're fully on board with. And actually it's central to the existing strategy that we have as a company, because the projects we have ongoing at the moment, the phase 1 development and the future phase 2 development, those are gas projects which are firmly part of that energy transition, and those are decarbonisation opportunities as well. So phase 1 displaces higher carbon liquid fuels, phase 2 displaces coal as well. So we're on that transition pathway as well. But we think we can do more in that space, and not more because it's seen to be the right thing to do and everywhere else seems to be doing it, but more because we actually think that we've got the skills to be able to make a difference in that space. And we have the relationships as well that can lead us to making that difference. So what we're intending to do is to build out from what we have, and we've got a very strong established position in Morocco. We've got good relationships in country, and importantly, we've got access to the key movers and shakers, to governmental departments, to banks, to other sources of finance as well. So we think that in many ways we are uniquely positioned to move forward with investment in that space in Morocco. And once we've established that track record in Morocco, then we can build out in the renewable space from there elsewhere to add further growth within the portfolio. We announced that we are in discussions with some Moroccan farmers on a solar project. So that's a concrete opportunity that we're screening at the moment. That's a 4.3 megawatt opportunity with scalable growth opportunity thereafter. So that's one opportunity that we're quite excited about, and hopefully we can lead that forward to taking an investment decision on that within the not too distant future. We also have a wind opportunity over towards the east of Morocco as well, and that's slightly less mature, but we're screening that at the moment. So we'll see what comes of that through the course of time.
Thank you, Garry. Can you remind shareholders of the exploration potential in your 2 acreages?
Sure. So I mentioned that we strategically took the decision to deprioritise exploration, but that potential is still there, and the numbers are large. But we're sitting on top of gross unrisked exploration potential in excess of 20 TCF. So that's a big prize that's there, and it's something that's still of interest to us. But it's about doing it at the right pace and in line with the strategy of moving towards becoming a cash generative company as well. But we've been maturing opportunities, as I mentioned slightly earlier, behind the scenes as well. So John Argent and the exploration team have been looking at the data sets that we have, and they've used those data sets to high grade the portfolio. So we've got 3 exciting prospects that are on the near term horizon. One of those is on the Anwal license, that's the N5 prospect, and we've also got 2 on the Greater Tendrara prospect, so the TE4 and SPK1. Those are actually prospects that were drilled previously in 2000 and in 2006, and they accessed gas shows, so we know there's gas there. So we're quite excited about those opportunities, and we will move those forward through the maturation portfolio through the coming period.
Garry, you've been Sound Energy CFO for around 12 months now. What are you most proud of achieving?
Well, I'm proud of the team overall, and don't forget that in early 2020 the the whole executive team within Sound changed out. So Graham Lyon came in as the executive chairman. Mohammed Sagiri was appointed as chief operating officer. And whilst I've been CFO for the last 12 months, I've essentially been doing that role since then as well. So it's got a longer history. But we mentioned at the beginning that we've been very busy. And I would say that personally, the things that I've been actively involved in and very proud of as an organisation are the Schlumberger acquisition. As I mentioned, that was an accretive transaction. So I was leading that transaction, and there was lots of blood, sweat and tears spent on that negotiation. It took time to deliver, but we delivered something that's to the value and the benefit of shareholders. So it's something that I think all shareholders should be pleased with. We obviously spent some time restructuring the debt last year, so I was heavily involved in that, as you may expect from my role. And we achieved a very successful outcome. So we had a 29 million euro corporate bond that was due for maturity in June 2021. Clearly, at the time, we didn't have the capacity to be able to pay down that bond, so we restructured it. We went into dialogue with the bondholders, and we managed to push out the maturity of that bond to 2027. And that means that it's pushed out to a period when we will have the revenue through phase 1 and phase 2, and therefore the financial capacity to be able to meet the repayment obligation on the bond. We also managed to lower the short-term cash demands on the business as well by lowering the cash coupon associated with that bond. So we reduced that from 5% to 2% per annum, with the remaining 3% being rolled up and paid at maturity. So that was a very good outcome, and I think it's one that we achieved in the best interests of the bondholders, but also our shareholders as well. And it provides us with breathing space to move forward and unlock the exciting aspects within the portfolio. And then I think probably in my role as well, one of the notable achievements we've taken as a business is a substantial reduction in corporate G&A. So we've reduced corporate G&A by more than 60% since 2019. That, frankly, is quite a remarkable achievement. Some of it's been based upon reduced activity levels, but many of those changes are structural, and we've got this capital discipline approach that's firmly embedded across the organisation. So I'm hugely proud of the efforts that the team have made to reduce the corporate overhead. And what that does is it really just provides us with, again, the financial platform for us to credibly move the business forward and to move our investments forward within our means. So that's another area that I've been heavily focused on as well. And then I think I might just finally say that, I'm quite proud of being part of the new executive team here as well at Sound. We've covered a lot of ground since we got together, and I played a key role along with Graham and Mohammed in that strategic reset of the company. And I think what makes me most pleased there is the fact that we've put tangible actions out there. So it's not just words. We talked about a monetization strategy, and now with phase 1 underway and phase 2 looming on the horizon, we're actually putting those good words into practice.
Garry, it's certainly been a busy year for you. Now the tax situation in Morocco has been a challenge. Can you update shareholders on where the company currently stands?
Yeah, it has been a challenge and an unwelcome one, I would say. It's clearly not something that we want to be focusing on. We want to be focusing on growth, on delivery, and this, in essence, is not a value-adding activity for Sound. So, as we've announced before, we are in a formal process. So there's different aspects of the tax assertion that's in place from the Moroccan tax authorities. There's part of it that's associated with the Sound Energy Morocco East subsidiary, and part of it associated with Sound Energy Morocco SARLO, which is a former entity or a dormant entity that we have in Morocco as well. And those processes are now formal. So we're at the local tax committee stage for one of those processes. We're also in court for one of the others. So unfortunately, I'm limited as to what I can say on the matter at the moment, because clearly what we don't want to do is to say anything that could prejudice a successful outcome in either of those situations. But I am confident that based upon the work we've done internally, the good advice that we've had from our legal advisors and our tax advisors, that we can reach a satisfactory solution here. As we've said before, we fundamentally believe that the assertions are flawed and that they're based upon a misunderstanding of historical licensing changes. So we don't actually see the basis for these claims. So hopefully, as we follow through the process, we can put these matters to bed. And don't forget that actually one of the matters of quite significance was actually dropped by the Moroccan tax authorities in August of last year. So we're seeing some progress. It's never quick enough, but we just need to actively manage the business and hopefully put it behind us and focus on the more interesting stuff.
Thank you, Garry. Final question: where do you see the company in 24 months' time?
Yeah, it's a great question. So let me think. I mean, this comes down to a combination of what I think is achievable and what I would like to achieve as well. So clearly, within 24 months, now that we're on the pathway to first gas through phase 1, we'll be a revenue generating company. So that's where I see we'll be within 24 months. We will have phase 2 funded and in the project execution phase, and we will be substantially through the pathway of that execution and well on the way to first gas from phase 2. So don't forget that the intention here is, although we have a phase development, phase 1 and phase 2 for the Tendrara TE5 horse development, we are intending to develop both of those opportunities in parallel rather than in sequence with one another. So I would be hopeful that within 24 months we're well through the execution phase on phase 2. Clearly, I would want to have the tax issue well behind us, because, as I say, that's an unnecessary and an unwelcome distraction to what we're about and what we need to do to deliver value for shareholders. So I hope and I would expect that would be well behind us then. And on the growth side of things, I've mentioned that we are looking at growth within the renewable space, also within the conventional upstream space. So I would hope that we have more to our portfolio, and I would expect actually that we have more to our portfolio than what we currently have in terms of the Moroccan assets in Sidi Mokhtar and around Tendrara. So I would hope that we have additional upstream assets, and ones that are largely characterised by being cash generative. That's what we're looking at. We're not focusing on upstream growth through additional portfolio additions that are in the exploration phase. We believe it's probably necessary and beneficial to shareholders to acquire producing assets and ones that can yield cash generation. So I would hope that we'd have some additional opportunities there. And then I would also hope that we've moved forward the renewable strategy as well. And we've got some of these initial opportunities in Morocco that we see off the ground, and potentially we have some other opportunities either maturing in the hopper or ready for maturation outside Morocco as well. So a connection of things, but there's lots ahead for us in the next 24 months. And I think it's a hugely exciting story to be part of.
Thank you, Garry. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Catherine.
And thank you for watching Flagstaff TV.